I'm your huckleberry.
We've got entirely too many troublemakers here.
All right, let's get started. Getting ready. Oh, yes. Everybody. Stuff on here. Everything's good. Let's go to the chat. Open that up. Hi, welcome to House Parks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. It's the morning show, and here we go. We're going to be joined in just a couple of minutes by our dear friend Texas Paul, and there's a lot of Texas things happening, not only in terms of the state and its relation to the rest of the country, but of course, I would say Texas-sized problems. You see what I'm saying? Everything's bigger in Texas, including Tesla fails, which, you know, because the whole thing about Elon Musk was he was going to show everybody he meant business by moving his business out of California, which is full of those EV driving hippies that he decries so much, and move it to Texas, a place where driving an EV can get you accused of being a woke trans activist with a grudge against straight guys, something like that. Also, can I remind everybody that it was in Texas that Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law, Elaine Chao's sister, died in a Tesla that became submerged in a pond on the property of, like, Mitch McConnell has like a little ranch down there. Remember that shit? Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you thinking, appreciating the fact that I threw mandolin in there. You can't have the thing around without picking it up. Can't find me. I'm definitely on YouTube. I'm definitely up on YouTube right now. I'm seeing people from YouTube in there. Share the show out, by the way, before we get started. Texas Paul is having tech issues. He'll be with us in just a second. Not a problem. All right, Canadians who voted. Well done, Seahawk. I think that was who went by. Sometimes the chat goes by so fast that I will attribute a quote to a name just above it, because that's, as your brain's reading it, it goes off a clip. Yes, I would agree. Somebody said, Jesus, that's horrible. Yeah, that's horrible. The woman drowned in a Tesla that she couldn't get out of, that when she accidentally put it in reverse and drowned in the fucking thing. She was able, inside the vehicle, to call people as it was filling up with water as she died. Fucking hell. Which, again, ladies and gentlemen, remind you, always have something sort of like a screwdriver or something in your glove box. This is you know how they have those devices that are like, pow! Okay, that'll get you out of there. Okay, you know, anything with kind of a point like this will work like a charm. So find a Phillips head, a shitty, short, one of those little plug-size Phillips heads that you always forget, like that you have or you never use because you need one with this length, and you're like, what the hell? This just makes my wrist hurt. Take that one and put it in your glove box. And then if you're ever drinking at a party with Mitch McConnell's friends and you become so inebriated that you roll into, yes, you can also use the headrest if it comes out. I don't know on a Tesla if the headrest comes out. On, like, if you'd have to crawl into the back seat to take the headrest out of a back seat, right? Totally agree. Like, here's another one. Take your fucking keys out. All right, anyways. It wouldn't be a bad idea. But anyways, a Phillips head screwdriver worked like a fucking charm. And just get one of those shitty ones that you got when you bought a piece of IKEA furniture or something and it came with like a little one like that. Just put it in the glove box and have it in there just in case that ever happens to you. Just saying. But it's nuts that, here's a good idea, Mr. Supercar, Mr. fucking Elon Musk first principles. How do you practice this? You don't have to. It'll work, believe me. Your adrenaline will be so high, and the point of it is so easy, it will pop. Go watch a bunch of videos about people stealing shit out of cars in San Francisco. A hammer is good too. No, it isn't. No, a hammer is not good. Hammer has a flat surface and will not necessarily work. Some of these windows, you can hammer them and they won't break, but a tiny little point will break through the fucking thing. So, anyways, that happened in Texas. A little safety tip for the morning. Maybe I just accidentally saved your life. But just do that, okay? Just in case. I hope it never happens. But it's super easy to, a claw hammer then. No, because you could use the corner of the claw hammer, I guess, and it seems like a lot of work. I'm just telling you. That said, Hinky is shit, by the way. She was totally, a part of this, like, obvious CCP scheme to infiltrate and influence, at the very least, the U.S. government through her connections to Mitch McConnell. And the fact that she died, same thing goes with Virginia Giuffre, the Epstein and Prince Andrew accuser who took herself out this week, allegedly. Just heartbreaking and sad. And again, where are the Epstein files? Pam Bondi, where is it? Huh? I don't want to hear any shit about a judge in Wisconsin that you're getting on some sort of petty diversion order, like she's the fucking head of a giant human trafficking cartel, asshole. Where's the Epstein files? Shut the fuck up until you come up with the Epstein files. I'm just saying. Tough. All right, now, couple of news pieces before we get Texas Paul in here. There was a huge explosion at an Iranian port, and there's you guys know me. I'm my experience in China and around China, and let me explain something. Love Chinese culture, love Chinese people. The government is absolutely fucked, and it's terrible, and it's also cultivating this kind of like dog eat dog, tell on your neighbor paranoia as part of the like overarching I would like political culture of the country, right? Whatever happens below that is sort of like, Germans who weren't on board with the Nazis or something like that, or Russians who used to buy blue jeans and cassette tapes at black markets while they were under the USSR, right? Okay, there's the overarching political. They might even still buy into the, America is the great Satan idea, but underneath they're listening to our music and buying our clothes and watching binge watching our TV shows, right? So that's there's like two stacks of this. In Iran's relationship with Russia, which is I've talked about extensively, it is rather embarrassing that that I guess the White House completely avoids this conversation. The follow-up question about anything with Iran that anyone asks, about their nuclear program, reporters, the follow-up question must be: does the president have any concerns about Russia's support and deep relationship with Iran? Right? He can say no, but he should be meant to, if he's going to shit all over Ukraine and tap dance around Zelensky and what Zelensky's going through on and off, and we'll see if anything stuck after the meeting in the Vatican. If he's going to have that attitude about, like, we got to give Russia a chance, but he's going to go like, the existential threat is Iran, well, then Russia's backing Iran, put up or shut up. I mean, is that not at play in the negotiations that you're having with them? Explain yourself, my friend. So, okay. Massive explosion at the port. It says it's linked to missile fuel. Kills 25, injures some 800. That number has gone up to about 1,000. Nobody really knows what the full extent of the story. I don't know that we could. Let's see real quick. I'm going to put this in here real quick. I don't think that he can't get it going. He lives in Texas, so internet's out, and he's having rough internet situation. Whoops, sorry, 1 second. Dink. I was trying to put a link in there, and it only copied part of it. There you go. Delete. There you go. Okay. So Texas Paul will join us if and when his internet gets back up and running. Okay, which he is welcome at any time. I'll do a special show for Texas Paul, get him in here and talking to everybody. But I want to address this particularly. Okay, details of this. One is the alleged missile fuel comes from the fact that because of that barrage of missiles that they launched at Israel about 6 weeks ago, that they are low on missile fuel. And so they bought a bunch of missile fuel from China. And that shipment allegedly, and again, murky as hell, that shipment was at this port in that area. Now, I don't know if they shipped a new shipment of beepers along with it, but there is a very strong chance that in and out of this area, it's not too hard if you have if they've got a lot of shipments coming in and out of this stuff, and basically when the shipment's coming from China, you can track. Again, this goes why Pete Hegseth is a fucking moron. If I know where the ships are, and I know what the target is, and I know when they're launching, I know when they're going to be overhead, and I can shoot them out of the sky, right? Anybody can do that basic math, okay? Same thing applies with the missile fuel shipments in China. If you know basically when they're going to arrive, you also can order through tacit stuff, have people... Oh, wait, I think we got Texas Paul. He's coming in. Excellent. Give me 1 second. I will make sure that he has the ability to see us. I see him, which is fantastic, so I'll bring him in just 1 second. But that's the sound of Texas Paul in the back. I hear him. All right. And let me jump in here and make sure that, I'll just bring him in right away and pop this in here. Hold on 1 second. I just have to refresh our window so that we can see him. Da-da-da-da. Let's go back to here. It won't be that. Go back to here. And Ecam Live and then show. Almost. They always give me two of them. There we go. Boink. Hey, there he is. Welcome to the show.
Can you hear me,
Texas
brother?
Bomb. I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I don't know if I've got the right mic authorized or not, so you're gonna have to tell me if I'm.
You sound fantastic. You sound as sure as your microphone.
I am terribly sorry for being late, my friend. I was out in the back pasture mowing. We've had some rain over the last few days. I hit a spot that I didn't know was muddy, and I went down in a ditch, and I had to get my damn tractor out of the ditch, and I ran a few minutes late. I'm sorry, brother.
That is
I'm
totally
truly
fine.
sorry.
Okay, that was the technical issues. I'm so glad that it was tractor related, and I'm glad you're okay. Because I will say that's how we lost one of our pastors, and in Kentucky was a tip over tractor. That's no joke. So if your lawnmower if your riding mower or your bush hog or anything goes into a ditch, it's a scary proposition. So I'm glad you're fine. Welcome. So right out of the gate,
I was brush hogging. I was brush hogging out back, and I'm telling you, man, it's not. I grew up in South Texas. It's all limestone, my friend. I mean, there's no topsoil, no nothing. It's all limestone. Here, where we moved out here for the last decade plus to take care of Mrs. Texas Paul's family and be closer to them, this is dirt, man. This is dirt.
Oh yeah.
And it's been raining for the last 2-3 days, and I'm mowing a slope, and next thing you know, me and about 16 tons of dirt are running downhill, man. I'm telling you, woo! My butt bit into that tractor seat tighter than you can.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You're off-roading. All right. So what I was talking about before you came on the show was this explosion in Iran at the port that killed 25 people so far, injured about 800 to 1,000. The fact that it was Chinese fuel and the fact that where it was located was exactly why, and the Iranians are pushing it off that it was just a bad mixture, bad storage. They're blaming it. They're turning it into an accident because I don't know. It might simply be that the Chinese shipped it with stuff and they took about as much care as they take, and there were lithium-ion batteries in the cooling mechanism, and boom, right? You get damp and off you go. That's totally possible. And an accident sounds a lot better than, Israel got us the way they got those guys with beepers in Lebanon, right? So they may not admit to if it was anybody in the first place. But my thing is that one of the things you know about these kind of shipments, and this goes to the Hegseth thing, is that if let's say Israel or the United States, if we're behind it, or if they're behind it, or if Saudi Arabia is behind it, again, they're mortal enemies as well. They know that this is the port where Iran sells most of its underground oil shipments. All of the avoiding sanctions of oil shipments comes out of this port in particular. And they know that this missile fuel is coming in from China. They know when it's left. They can see where the boats are in the sea. They've got eyes on them. They know when it's going to arrive. They can also arrange for, let's say they know other shipments are coming in. They put a package in with those. They know basically the timing of how they stack the stuff. And they go, this stuff's going to be moved into this area. If we have a similar thing that says fertilizer or whatever, it's going to be put right next to it because that's where they put the stuff in the port. And then boom. And you could trigger it. And with Hegseth's whole thing about giving away the flight path, essentially, of where we know we've got ships in the region. If they've got eyes on them, they can know when the airplanes will be overhead and shoot them out of the sky. That's why you don't need to know exactly. I don't need to have radar even to follow where they are, or satellite images of them approaching. You can tell. You can just do the math and vector when shit's arriving. And this is, I think, the part that most people, when they're talking about the Hegseth thing, are not putting enough emphasis on. That his release of those details before they were actually implemented, in a timing window where you could make that math happen, could have gotten our airplanes blown out of the sky.
Correct.
Yeah, and I don't know why they have the inability to ask that second question. I have no idea.
I don't either, and I will tell you, you know me, man. I am the anti-conspiracy theory guy. I am.
Right.
I mean,
Me too.
Occam's razor. Accidents happen.
Mhm.
You know, shit happens.
Yeah.
This ain't that. This
No.
is not looking like that. This is
Mm-mm.
really this was. Iran is not. They are a sophisticated nation. They really
Right.
are. I
They're
mean, as
not
far as
Iraq
Middle Eastern
in
countries.
1999. Right.
Correct. Correct. This really smells like it was intentional. I mean, this really smells like this was a hit, man. I mean,
Yeah, the
this
timing is hanky as shit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
and Iran doesn't typically do stupid shit like put excessive amounts of, I don't know, fertilizer and I mean, ammonium nitrate in one damn
Right.
spot where you can, I mean, this really. I really hate buying into conspiracy theories because 9 times out of 10 it bites you in the ass, and
Right.
it ends up just being the fringe of us,
Right.
talking out the side and talking out their ass. But this really does look like a hit, man.
Yeah.
It really does. And what you're talking about with the lack of operational security in our government, if we are in any way involved, this is going to lead to terrorist attacks in our country for decades.
Right. Yeah.
Decades.
Well,
This will have huge fallout.
here's the thing. I don't think we are, because if we were, we'd already know, because Pete Hegseth would have told his fucking gardener. And the fact that it's an that it might be an
I
Israeli
didn't
or
mean to laugh,
Saudi,
but you're right.
right? Like, honestly, okay. So here's so far. Check me on this. This is my checklist on the Hegseth shit. First signal chat. Mike Waltz adds Jeffrey Goldberg to the chat accidentally, like an asshole. Nobody is engaged in any criminal activity or criminal conversations in that chat that Goldberg could do anything with, other than it's kind of embarrassing they're having policy discussions on this thing, until Hegseth puts an attack plan in. At which time, everybody after that is complicit in a crime. He's committed a crime by releasing classified shit, and everybody who didn't shut him down or shut the chat down at that point is complicit in that crime, including Tulsi Gabbard, including J.D. Vance, including everybody in their fucking little drapey offices. Second, we find out and I think the order of this was he fires a bunch of people or kicks a bunch of people out, has his guys basically perp walked without cuffs out of the building. 3 of the most maggoty dudes in his circle. One of them,
I know, man.
We'll get to his possible cocaine use, maybe even with Hegseth in a second. But the second thing that comes out while this is going on, while these guys get kicked out, Friday they're fired. They're walked out Wednesday. Friday they're fired late in the day, which is clearly them trying to avoid the news cycle on it. Sunday, we find out on the Sunday shows or via New York Times article that there was a second signal chat at the same time, parallel to, where he was cutting and pasting these attack plans, not only into the signal chat that Goldberg was in, but the one that his wife is in, along with his personal lawyer and his brother and 13 other people who we have yet to find out who they are. Then comes the stampede. The guys who were kicked out, Caldwell, Selnick, or whatever his name is, and the other guy, are all going on Megyn Kelly and on Tucker and stuff, saying that they were bounced because they were they were going against the Iran hawks, and that they were too in line with the president's policy, which makes no fucking sense if Hegseth was the dude that signed off on them. So the biggest part coming is the one that was on, I think it was Selnick, if that's his name, was on Megyn Kelly, saying that he thinks Joe Casper, who was the deputy, was the chief of staff for Hegseth, was not only who started this investigation, it was all about jealousy and bitch biting over there. And he's probably on coke or something, because he would be erratic. He'd be like calm, and then he would go to the bathroom, and he'd come back, and he'd be like, foaming at the mouth and biting everybody's head off. And totally doing blazing Adderall, the obligatory maggot Adderall rails, the Pervitin of MAGA. So,
I was talking to a guy that deals in OPSEC not too long ago about this because I wanted to get a professional's opinion on this. And what was just blowing his mind, it was all bad. And you could actually see somebody being an idiot like Mike Walls, just adding the wrong person. First of all, using Signal in the first place. Let's just get past that. Just using a free app in the first place on personal cell phones. Let's get past that idiocy, which has everybody that deals with operational security has their hair on fire. But the one thing these intelligence, the CIA, I mean, we deal with SIGINT all the time. It's not human, it's SIGINT. And one of the biggest targets that they always hit, the spouses, the kids. The kids. You can get so much information off a spouse's phone. Honey, I'm going to be late because something's come up at the office. Oh, really? Okay. What does something come up at the office for the Secretary of Defense mean? It's like
and you can look back at it. You can look retrospectively back at whatever they're saying and go, every time he says it's another one or it's something, like they have a familial, code word for what, whether it's a strike or whether it's something else. If they've done that accidentally, like where, the boss says it's time or some shit like that, and they go, okay, let's look at when that was said before and let's see what happened right after that. Okay, that's what he means when he says this. When they're just having meetings about stuff, then he uses a different phrase. And they trace those patterns, and then they can look back at what the fucker did, and or what military action was taken, or look at what Israel has done, or look at other countries. Look at whether we're sending an envoy to Qatar, and they're prepping for the send for that guy, because the Pentagon will cover shit like that. If we're sending our ambassador someplace, and they talk about, like, I got another, base drop or something like that. That means one of our ambassadors is going to a base, and if they know what's happening geopolitically, they know which one they're talking about. It's either this, or this, and they'll prep three possibilities, and as they get closer, he might say more, because he's a fucking idiot. So, sorry, continue.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's just that's the kind of thing. And Hal, this, if you ask me geopolitically, you put a gun in my head and said, Paul, tell me who did this, who blew up this port in Iran, I would tell you Putin did, because Iran has been straying off the farm. Iran has been making deals. Iran has been basically stabbing Putin in the back recently, and as of late. And this is just, to me, if I had to speculate, I would say this would be a way for Putin to reach out and say, get back in line. I can still touch you. Right.
Well, it was fascinating to me that they had, I guess, the fire teams to put out the port that were largely made up of Russian airplanes. And it was like, I was curious, they were kind of in flight distance, that they were nearby and kind of offered relatively quickly, wouldn't you say? Right? Like, I'm sorry, Russia just happened to have firefighting airplanes in the region and around there. I mean, that's pretty fucking specific. When we had the Palisades fire, it took time for, that was an ongoing fire for days. It took time for other, Canada and Mexico both had helped out a little bit. Other states in the United States that have those kind of fire suppressant airplanes sent a few of those in or offered to send them in. Russia was there in like a matter of hours. I mean, gee, thanks guys. But it sounds like you were prepped and ready for this to go.
Yeah.
To your point.
I agree with you 100%. I hate being the conspiracy theory guy. I'm always the guy that gets in trouble with my audience because I'm the one that says, oh no, it's an accident. Somebody screwed up. They didn't understand proper storage techniques or this, that, and the other. But not that this does not look like that. This is a highly technically modern. Right. This port is folks, I hate to tell you this. This port is newer, has had more recent upgrades. It is technically more advanced than Long Beach, This is not
Right.
some backwater shithole port. This was not.
Well,
This
because
looks like
it is the hub of their oil trade, of their and their like covert oil trade, which is the telling part. Because if you're doing that kind of stuff, you'll have more OPSEC there yourself. You'll have more protection around there. You'll have better security in theory. So the idea that this would, and again, I immediately go that it is entirely possible. If it was any other time, but right now, leading up to this deadline that Trump has next week, / this week, whenever the hell, that we're going to bomb Iran or allow Israel to, or we're going to be part of it because they can't be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, that whole thing, which I think is a good goal. But we had that locked down under Obama without having to fire a shot, and now this asshole who rolled it back. And my only issue with not my only issue, my main issue with the tariff stuff right now is that every country that's making a deal with him goes, okay, ask Iran what it's like to make a deal with the United States when Trump's in charge.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. And how another twist on this, because you were mentioning Israel earlier.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, for some reason, they think that Israel is our friend, only our friend, and only Netanyahu absolutely works with Putin. Absolutely works with Putin. And I could absolutely see Israeli intelligence helping the Russians out in this situation, because Netanyahu cannot live without an evil nemesis.
Well, I will say
there's
this
no
about,
need, no use for him in Israel.
I will, politically, I think you're absolutely right. As far as Israel's concerned, they're not short of enemies in the entire area. There has been an entire expulsion of Jews from the rest of Arabia since the creation of Israel. If you look at the numbers of Jews in every one of those countries, they have shrunk down, partly because it's safer to be in Israel, but partly because there's been a purge. There's a definite argument for, formerly what was Transjordan, which is the Jews will call, or the Israelis will call Judea and Samaria, which we call the West Bank. Gaza itself, as not as a Palestinian territory, but as an Egyptian seized territory in 1948, that these are both seen by, Netanyahu's cabinet crowd as illegal settlements by Arabs in those areas because they were taken under duress in the war and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately what it means is that the squeezes to make Israel smaller and smaller, that has been going on forever, and that's not going to change anytime soon, as the Iran-based Islamists push out all the non-Iran-based Islamists. Because if you look at the turmoil of Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and that churn comes up, it's as much about getting rid of alternate Muslim sects, specifically the Sunni versus Shia, that battle, but also we're seeing a purge of Alawites, the Bashar al-Assad crowd. They're purging Christians throughout the area. This is Iran's Islamist idea is a political religious idea, less a morally religious idea, which you could argue that perhaps it's certainly, I wouldn't call the Saudis this, but I would call the Sunni direction has been trying to push for that in the broader world. It's why we have more interaction with Sunnis in the world than we do Shias, because there are more of them that live in the Western world, because they can put their orthodoxy on pause, right? Whereas the Shia cannot in this theory.
Which is played perfectly into al-Shara's hands in Syria, because right. I mean, his Al-Qaeda background, he's come in and he said, look, I'm not going to purge anyone. Everyone can stay. Even the Kurds. You guys can stay. I'm not going to chase anyone out politically. Meanwhile, you've got juxtapose that with exactly what you're talking about has been going on in Iran, who has just been driving themselves into a corner in the region.
Well, that's absolutely.
They've even pissed off Russia.
Right. Well, that's again. But Russia can't really push any leverage on them because they need them for weaponry. Literally, the port is the Shahed something port. It's the same name as the drones that they sell to Russia. Like that name is ubiquitous in their kind of militaristic world. And again, why it's a political form of Islam versus a religious form of Islam, whether the fact that they hung a woman yesterday in jail for being a drug dealer and they view that as sort of a moral thing, it has more about material control of the country and a political decision, in the same way that Trump wants the death penalty for drug dealers. It's not about the morality of it. He's got his crowd are morally, slipshod. They'll call themselves Jesus-y Christians, but they're all for the same kind of capital punishment that took Jesus out of the world. They'd string everybody up if they could. So this is the issue. It is obviously a tumultuous time in the Middle East. Not that it ever hasn't been, but right now it's because, for all the talk about proxy war between the U.S. or the West and Russia via Ukraine, the reality is that there's a proxy war happening, for control of Iran between Russia and the democratic world and the standard, again, Sunni Shia fight, but also the Saudis wanting, there's those two areas in Saudi Arabia and Iran that are almost like opposite each other on the coasts. In Saudi Arabia, they're controlled by Iranian separatists, and then in Iran, they're controlled by Saudi separatists who are kind of like fighting inside each country, ongoing forever at this border. And that's been, we don't even hear about it because it's so normal, right, to that part of the world. The issue is that Trump is probably the absolute, well, he definitely is the absolute worst person to be in charge of the U.S. military during this time, because he is so easily led and dopey and
moron.
Has no rules of engagement at all. Does not care about civilian lives. Doesn't any of that. The U.S. has struck 800 targets in Yemen since March 15th.
I have been screaming about Ukraine, and look, I'm going to stick my neck out there and make a prediction. 6 months, Ukraine war's over. I believe that. Because Putin right now, and this is why I think we may need to look at Putin a little bit on this particular on what's going on in Iran, because I believe that Putin's come to the realization that he has to end this. He does. And he's got a unique opportunity on his hands. We are awash in oil. We are oil prices are just plunging and plunging and plunging.
The world is.
Plus, you add in
the world is.
You add the recession that Trump is causing. The entire world is. But the break-even price for Russia on oil is much lower than ours. Their break-even price on their toughest fields is around what our Delaware basin is here in the Permian Basin in West Texas, which is literally the cheapest oil you can get in the United States. It's not like the Bakken fields where the break-even point is around 60. It's in the upper 40s. Right. Their break-even price on average is the upper 40s. So you're seeing these prices fall. If they can make a deal in Ukraine, even if it's not 100% face saving for Putin, if they can make a deal in Ukraine in that war, but it involves repealing sanctions, our domestic oil industry is done. Is done. Because they are drowning in oil right now. The sanctions will peel off. Russia can do what the Saudis are doing right now, because Trump went to the Saudis and said, I need some cheap gas prices. Can you increase production? And they were like, yeah, because the Saudis have literally the lowest break-even point of any major producer out there. Their break-even point is in the 30s, lower 30s.
I will say that because largely the infrastructure in the entire country is based entirely on oil delivery. They also have the lowest reserves of any high-end oil country, lower than ours, Russia's, Venezuela, all those. Like, the Saudis have been oil poor and cash poor for quite some time. That's why, MBS is trying to get this, basically turn them into a tourist state for all Muslims, because they have Mecca and Medina. Everybody has to go there one day. And so you can guarantee a sovereign power structure if they come there and they stay. They start businesses, they run stuff out of there, you create this kind of secondary tax haven aspect of it, turn yourself into the Bank of Cyrus or the Caymans. just holding that money, you'll shave off a security fee from everybody. That's definitely his future because they're running out of oil. But the Chinese economy effectively collapsing as it has been for the last 5 years. And now the myth of the Chinese economy collapsing along with it is inevitable. It is a decline that is not going to turn around. They don't have the worker base for it. They don't have the consumer base for it. There's fewer people now. The death toll from COVID is somewhere in the 200 millions. It's if not higher. And so their oil demand, which is what all the prices were predicated on for like the last 10 years, was like, oh my God, China's going to overtake the United States and it's going to be the biggest economy in the world. And they got all these people. And so their middle class is going to be 3 times the size of the U.S. middle class. And they're going to drive cars and they're going to need fuel and they're going to have industry that runs on stuff. And they're going to need ships and cruise ships and all this secondary build out that you get that runs on, even with, a portion of them being electric, right? It's going to be hybrids at least for 2 decades. The oil amount is just going to go through the roof, and it didn't happen, and it's not going to happen. And the world is coming to that, and they prepped for that, and now they've got the reason that break-even price is because Saudi Arabia operated on the concept that they're going to be able to sell so much oil, and then the sale never happened. So they got the greasiest pumps in the world, but nowhere to go. These prices are going to come down and keep going down because you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
And if you're Putin, look at this tremendous opportunity. I mean, if they just make a deal in Ukraine for a little while, for 2 years, 3 years, he can end our domestic oil production, and then they own us. Mm-hmm. They own us. Just like what we saw, folks, remember the beginning of the Ukraine war, the shape that Europe was in. They immediately went into recession, because Russia was their energy sugar daddy. They had no option. Right now, you've got Keir Starmer out there screaming, we can never be in that situation again, ever, because Putin did. He absolutely started turning the tap off and said, how do you like it? How do you like it?
Right.
You're really going to support Ukraine? Let me turn the tap down a little bit
That's
more.
right. They were also doing that, with natural gas as well, that ultimately that whole, like, in Trump's first term, when Russia and Saudi Arabia were doing that kind of like game of chicken about lowering the price, it had nothing to do with either of their price. They were trying to destroy all R&D into natural gas expansion in the United States. That was their purpose. They wanted that number to go so low that there was no money left over from oil and gas to move into natural gas. And, and they almost succeeded. But like this time, they're playing chicken with everybody. And unfortunately, they don't have the backing of this huge sink of China buying all this oil anymore. They don't go, we've got a new market for this, so even if we don't do it, we can kill their market and then we'll sell to these guys. And if they want our stuff, they're going to have to compete with the price we're giving to those guys, and they'll come second because we'll build the relationship, and then it'll be BRICS, and it'll be all of us, and fuck those guys. And then it didn't happen, and it's not going to happen, and it was never going to happen. And so, I mean, do you think, and I know you don't want to put on your conspiratorial hat, but if you look at Besant and all these guys, they're definitely flop sweating about the edge that they're on. But is there a group of the investor class that sees, no matter how much pain it causes the U.S. in the short term, that this is their shot at destroying China? That they can, with this stuff, with all the trade war stuff, as much damage as it'll do, it's like chemotherapy or a fever. If it'll kill off that virus of Chinese hegemony of industrialization in Southeast Asia before it kills us. And that's what the race is. That's the game of chicken.
I think a bunch of them were actually delusional about that concept. They thought it would be good. They thought it would work. They thought they could get away with it. And they fundamentally misunderstood. It's like militarily in Ukraine. Everybody fundamentally misunderstood how willing Russia is to allow its people to die. They just, Putin
They
doesn't
still
lose
can't
an
wrap their head
ounce of
around it.
sleep. Yeah, everybody, Trump's like 5,000 people a day are dying, and Putin said,
Right.
China is the same way with their economy. Everybody thought, well, we're going to torpedo China. We're going to take them down. It's going to be a new American century, yada, yada, yada. And China said, no, we'll live through this. You won't.
Well,
Nobody will recognize you coming out the other side, but we will recover.
So to that point, if I can, let me put this up here. So this is one of the like a good example of that. So U.S. shoppers pay for Trump tariffs on Temu, doubling some prices. Well, China was already through tacit support of these things, cutting those prices in half in the first place. So they already were, it's cutting into the profit, but not the saleability of those items. Because if you were going to buy something for $14, if you have to pay $28 for it, it's not that big a deal for whatever that $14 item was if you need it enough. And especially if the comparable thing from either Europe or Canada or Mexico or from the United States is $50 already.
Yeah, that's it. That's the point I was hoping you were gonna spot on, man. Spot on.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. I do some woodworking as a hobby on the side. And I bought a few things off of Temu because, like, for instance, a mechanical punch. I was showing this on my show the other day. Starrett is a company that makes a wonderful mechanical punch. I mean, it's a lifetime item. You buy it once for $37. It lasts forever. The one I got off Temu, I got for $3.
Yeah.
Triple that price.
Yeah.
I'm still buying the $10 one off of Temu. I am.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's a worthless little small you can't fuck this up, Hal. It is just, it's a spring-loaded punch is all it is. And they're selling it for $10 now. And for the exact point you're talking about, there is so many products out there because we don't make our own steel. And that's another reason that the oil is going to kill us. Russia makes its own steel. The drill stem Russia uses is made in Russia. We don't make drill stem here. We don't. It all comes in on ships, man. Well, almost all of it comes in on ships. And so when the fit hits the shan, my friend, and this gets real over the next 3 to 6 months, Russia is in a better position energy-wise to survive this if they make a deal in Ukraine. That's why I'm really thinking there's going to be a deal in Ukraine. There is. I really believe that. I could be dead wrong.
Yeah, I am. Here's my thing on it is that I think there are too many moving parts for them to see which way is up right now. I think at one point Russia had a clear in and out, especially with Trump early, where they could, where Trump thought, and that's why Trump, I think, was under the illusion that one phone call would clear all this shit up, is that you've fallen into the ocean. It is daylight. You have, but you can see where the light is coming from, and you can blow bubbles, and they go up, so you can swim to the surface. And Russia had, no matter how deep it was, still had light to go towards and bubbles to follow. But if you fall in the ocean and you've been hit in the head and in the gut at the same time, and you expelled all the water from your lungs, and it's nighttime, you're now under the surface, and you, for all practical purposes, if you're tumbled over and over a couple of times, could swim towards the bottom in your confusion. And I think Russia's issue right now is that they might swim laterally while they're drowning in this situation, thinking it's up. And because there is no clean path anymore. And this, I would argue, there hasn't been one for 2 years, but there's an awakening in the world around Russia that even if Trump wants to remove oil sanctions, Texas oil people aren't going to let him. The Besant and everybody is going to go, no, don't, because you'll undercut right when you're trying to build up U.S. oil. You're going to cut them off at the knees if you let Russia start
bankrupt them.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what will happen. So the question is okay, what are you offering to Russia then? If you're not going to offer to relieve sanctions on oil, the fuck else do they sell? Natural gas, that's our market too. That's Qatar's market. That's Norway's market. These are all friends that we actually do have a relationship with, for tenuous as it is at
But
times,
how?
right?
You're talking about like these are smart, reasonable people. How? They're not.
Right.
They're not. They really are morons, people.
Right.
They really are stupid. They listen to very stupid people. Trump listened to Peter Navarro's bullshit fairy tale that we were going to go back to the 1800s tariff economy and taxes weren't going to be necessary anymore, and it was going to be beautiful and we were going to be rolling in money. These are not smart people.
No,
they don't ask the right questions.
Have you seen the report lately that they basically put Navarro on ice lately, that he has not been allowed in Oval Office meetings since that one where he spoke about a month and a half ago, where he apparently was talking Trump into this horse shit like hour after hour. And that's where we got like Navarro, besides the pissing contest between Musk and Besant that happened, where they were screaming at each other and telling each other to fuck off and that kind of thing. Part of the issue is that Musk was siding with Navarro's ideas, and Navarro's just fucking dumb. You want to talk about like idiot, like Besant's, cowing to Trump and trying to polish turds all day long, but he's ultimately not stupid. He's just a liar. And there's a difference. A liar can come around, right? A liar if you got cops, doing an interrogation of a liar, they can bring them to the truth with enough pressure, right? An idiot doesn't know they're lying, right? And Navarro is that guy. And Musk was biting on this bait as much, if not more, than Trump was, until it started hurting him. And then they started fighting over the IRS, blah, blah, blah. But Navarro has effectively been broomed. He hasn't been on the air since Fox News was saying, don't put Navarro on TV, put Besant on TV. He calms the markets. Have you seen Navarro anywhere? And you've seen Besant everywhere. The last week and a half, everywhere. And that
has to do, by the way, I happen to have some little inside baseball on that. That actually came out of Jamie Dimon.
Diamond, right.
Yep. I will not call him Diamond. His name is pronounced Dimon. I don't give a shit if he calls himself Diamond.
Count Dimone,
his name is pronounced Dimon. Anyone else on this earth that had D-I-M-O-N for the last name, their last name is Dimon. I'm not going to call that man Diamond. I will not do it. But
Understood.
he did. He had a come to Jesus meeting with he got a hold of Johnson in the House and I don't know why my brain's not working.
Thune?
Majority leader in the Senate. Come on, man. Thune. Yeah, got a hold of Thune in the Senate, got a hold of Johnson in the House, had a call with them two individually first and said, look, fuck your tax cuts. You just cost us 20% of our wealth.
Right.
20%. There is no tax cut that makes up for that. Fuck your tax cut. I will cut your funding off. Period. You will go into the midterms, and I'm not just speaking for me. I'm speaking for, and he started listing off, major heavy hitters in the Republican Party that are all like, you will get this tariff shit under control. You will put this shit back in the horse. You will shut Navarro up, and you will, and then you're absolutely right. Nothing but Scott Besant from that point on.
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Diamond's call, I mean, he wasn't alone in it, but it certainly seems to be the straw that broke the camel's back in this particular instance. And by the way, I want to remind everybody, Texas Paul is on Blue Sky. Is it just Real Texas Paul on Blue Sky? I know we have it somewhere. Hold on. I'm sure I have it. It's at, we'll figure it out in a second. But
it's
yeah.
realtexaspaul.com.
Right, excellent. And then that's the website as well. And what's your streaming schedule right now? Because I have a hard time keeping track of everybody's as they shift.
Still doing Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's 11 o'clock Eastern. Which,
Sunday,
by the way,
Wednesday,
you are
Friday.
Always welcome, my friend. You are always welcome, my friend.
All right.
Hey, I wanted to ask you a question. I was so looking for, I know I got to go, but I know your schedule, man. I'm sorry, but can I ask you a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
China.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is just they're really good at playing the game chicken? They really are. They will sit there stone-faced. Do you think that there's anything backing it up right now? They're really willing to just crash it the fuck all, because I'm looking at the shipping coming out of China, and it really looks like more than just what you would see out of a recession, that where people, needs are dropping.
Right.
It looks more like the government is saying, slow shipping down and let them get a taste of that.
Yeah, no, I would say here's what I would say. I think the in the case of Xi Jinping and the deals that they're talking about, and Trump's bullshit about he's having conversations with Xi and all that nonsense. They're not calling. Their problem is twofold. One, they can't. They have nothing to negotiate with except a shipment base and the ability to give funds or give buy debt in some cases. That was the old way, and then of course cheap goods to the world. Those are their two ways. That's their two control points. Both are fading. Their available funds, they are now selling their U.S. treasuries at a lower rate to other people, trying to undercut Trump on purpose, but also because the dual use, they need to sell them because they're broke. China's debt to income ratio, debt to GDP is fucked up. It's like 360% or something. It's insane. And it's worse if you count the provinces. So they're destitute. They're fucked. So they will lose a game of chicken. The issue that they have is, and this is the question everybody has, is that does Xi Jinping think that Stalin's thing about socialism leading to full communism is now possible because automation and industrialization has reached a level where you no longer really need the worker base that you used to have for consumers, where you had to have a consumer society based on your workers' paychecks like we have in the United States? And can they just scuttle their whole economy and start from scratch? That he can pull, because if you knock down the house of cards of the U.S. economy, we don't have a secondary plan in place, nor would we. There is no, we'll just fall back on communism and set that in place. It's not going to happen. But there's the illusion that it will in China, the way they used to believe that in the USSR. But there's no structure for it. Their social structure is shit. Their version of Social Security and retirement is just full of holes and it's garbage. But the idea is that he thinks the reason it's full of hole and garbage is because we've had this capitalist system on top of things that allowed us to rise up, and now we don't need the balloon anymore. We'll just float without it. So he thinks we're floating in the air like fucking up with a bunch of balloons, all led by product and sales of services overseas, and we'll just cut those fucking balloons, and then the whole ship will just stay in the sky. And it won't.
See, that's what I was afraid of. That's why I was asking you. So the answer is yes. They really will.
Yes,
even though
they will. Yes, he may not care at all and just decide this is the time to just say fuck it and let it all burn down, because who are you burning down but their middle class and their upper middle class, which is also his competing power structure. So, which again, we've seen Putin purge that in the oligarchy, and anybody who's not on the team gets killed or pushed out a fucking window or gets their family shot with shotguns while the father in the family magically hangs himself, 18 hours later because he's overwhelmed with grief. That kind of stuff. Meanwhile, they all die.
Well, I tried to go.
Second. Yeah.
I tried to go back and find a point in Chinese history anywhere where an uprising actually came from the people and what did not come from a specific leader, where it was just power, like you said, power conflicts against each other. I was unable to find culturally where the people just rose up in China
even
against
the Cultural Revolution.
So I really
was like Jonestown. It was literally like, if it wasn't for Mao, that wouldn't have happened the way it happened. It was a directed uprising, and that's what MAGA is. That's what the attack on Jan 6 was. So that there's a lot of you can look at MAGA as a form of cultural revolution. Burn the books, expel the teachers, anti-elite. It checks all the boxes of fucking Tiananmen Square massacre as far as what Trump wants for himself. Although luckily he's a coward and he's a fool and he's and he's incapable of doing these things. I have Tara Dublin waiting in the wings, and I want to bring her in here, but I want to thank you for coming on, my brother. And we will next time around, if you don't fall off a tractor, we'll have you on for the full hour. and apologize to Tara for me. Thank you. Not at all. Yeah. And we'll have you on, or I can pop onto your show later this week or something like that. Be great.
I appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you, Texas Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, there he goes. And give me 1 second. Let me bring in the lovely and talented. Hold on. Let me go assign this and solo her up in there. There we go. And read this, and then we're okay. And then, can I hear you? Check. Do you hear me? Okay. Oh, wait. Hold on. Nope. I muted you. Hold on. That's better. Now you're good.
Check 2. Toast. Sibilance.
So
Are we
good.
here?
Sibilance.
Sibilance.
Ladies
Toast.
and gentlemen,
Toast.
Tara Dublin
Check
rocks
2. Check 2.
with
2.
her,
2. Whoa, I'm way close. Wait.
You're okay. But and you'll. Hi.
Here I am.
So little bit caramely right now because of internet, but it'll hopefully
Is it
come
the
in a little
Portland
better.
internet? Is it?
Yes, Portland
Is
internet
it
again.
the internet here in the burning crater?
Yeah, it just takes a little while to catch up, but it's okay. You sound awesome with your new mic and your new Tara show setup, which is fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I can do
Tuesdays and
real
Thursdays.
AMSR, unlike Nancy Mace, who does not know what AMSR is. Yes, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Political Voices Network at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, and I'm a little hoarse because we had a karaoke birthday party Saturday night, and I sang a lot of songs loudly because that's how you should do. Plus, I did that right after the pre-show for Not the White House Correspondents Dinner, which was a roaring success, by the way. And 10,000 people tuned in for the pre-show.
Amazing.
For just the pre-show.
Look out.
10,000 views.
That's
so
incredible.
Thank you to everybody who tuned in because, and what was amazing about all of what we did, I think we pulled that together in 10 days or less?
Yes. Since I had the idea.
Went from concept to execution. Yeah, since you, and then we brought in the wonderful John Fugelsang, and he made so much magic happen. And
yes, he did.
We had such a lineup of amazing, brilliant, comedic, political talent that I don't know why anyone would watch the regular White House Correspondents' Dinner when they could have watched our show.
And especially when it was just like an apology tour towards Trump for the most part.
I mean, he was too busy falling asleep at the Pope's funeral.
Oh my God, the slack mouth.
Oh my God, if one more fucking person talks to me about Joe Biden being old, give me a fucking break. Look at the side-by-sides from the Pope's funeral, because there's sundowning Paw in his stupid, giant, shiny blue suit, because the man is such an ingrate, he doesn't own a black suit. You couldn't go to Men's Warehouse. You couldn't rent a suit. What's wrong with you? And there's Melania dressed up, or the fake Melania. We don't even know if that was the real Melania, but it was also Melania's birthday. I share a birthday with Melania, which is one of those things. But also Carol Burnett, and also Roger Taylor from Duran Duran, and also Channing Tatum. So maybe that counterbalances the Melania. But there's Melania, miserable on her birthday, next to her passed out husband, sleeping open mouth on the global stage at the Pope's funeral. And there's Joe wearing his shades, and there's Jill, and they're all like energetic and spry and looking amazing and representing the United States of America beautifully on the global stage. And then there's this motherfucker. And remember when he posted that he was super excited to go to this funeral? He doesn't look that excited to me.
Also, who the fuck is super excited to go to a funeral? What the fuck is wrong with you?
I'll tell you. You know who's excited to go to a funeral? A convicted felon who can still enter the country of Italy because they don't have any rules about convicted felons gaining entry to their country. Now, if the United States of America was doing right by its citizens in any way, they wouldn't allow a convicted felon to gain or regain entry into the United States. He would just be greeted by arresting officers upon landing. If a convicted felon tried to gain re-entry into the United, I don't know, like someone like, Andrew or Tristan Tate. Oh, wait a minute. They were allowed because they were given asylum by that rapist. Okay, great. But what I'm saying is if there was any normalcy, he wouldn't have been elected in the first place, but let's not make ourselves insane. But the truth is,
I was going to say, hold on. I was going to say,
isn't allowed to come into our country.
I was going to say that I thought when I asked you like who's excited to go to a funeral, I thought you would say me to his, but
well, yeah, that
I think
we're
like,
all gonna be excited.
Oh,
for his.
dude, yeah, we all want tickets or whatever. Like I already have.
It'll be a month-long celebration.
Yeah, I already have my hat picked out.
Oh.
This is what I'll wear.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You know what should happen when he finally dies is every single person in the United States of America should get a minute to just drag him to filth. That's how we celebrate. I mean, the guy.
It should be like Festivus. It's a holiday, right? Yeah.
All right, national holiday. We all get a month to just dance in the streets. But he blocked me on Twitter in August of 2015, so I have 10 years of shit to say to him, at least. And I believe, when that day rolls around, it's August 28th, 2015. I think we should plan like a big celebration for that day. And I should get a cake with my block printed out on the top. And then, have that and eat it because fuck him, right?
Yeah.
And apparently I'm in a thing right now with people who are mad at me for calling out. There's a new book that Alex Thompson is collaborating with like Jake Tapper on writing about Joe Biden's decline and how people close to him didn't even notice his decline. Fuck you. Look at that.
Yeah, right.
Don't give me your fucked up ageist bullshit, okay?
Right. Also,
Joe Biden
by the way,
lifted us out of a pandemic depression.
Never mind the fact, hang on for 1 second too. I'd like to remind everybody that when all this fucking talk started was right after October 7th when Joe Biden, because he actually gives a shit, was staying up all night dealing opposite time zones, talking directly with leaders in the region who were awake during like our nighttime hours, and he was getting up during the day and still doing regular shit. So all this talk about Trump being on 24/7 and never getting tired is all horseshit. Meanwhile, during this whole Biden's decay bullshit, he was sleeping like 6 hours a day. They're like, he needs a nap in the afternoon. Yeah, because he was up yelling at Netanyahu at fucking 4 a.m. after getting off the phone with Qatar and after talking to our envoy who's in Russia, 2 hours before that. So fuck off with this nonsense about old age. And meanwhile, this asshole.
No idea how demanding the job is of the president. You have no idea.
And he slept the whole way to that fucking place, and they left. He was there for 14 hours tops, and then flew straight back. You know why? Not because he's busy and he's got shit to do, but because he's a fucking never naked homebody who needs his fucking whoopee. And this dude is one of those places I've never seen anybody run to home base since George W. Bush kept going to cut fucking brush during the Iraq War, like it was it was this OCD fixation that he had, because it helped him avoid thinking about reality. That's why he wanted to go back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's also and this is occurring at a time when he has the lowest approval rating in 80 years. 80 years.
Yeah.
So
worst president
that's embarrassing.
Since polling.
Right? And so he goes there.
Yeah.
He's deporting toddlers with cancer. He falls asleep at the Pope's funeral.
In a blue suit. Which
I
believe are his pajamas.
And maybe he doesn't have a black suit because he couldn't find one that had an elastic waistband on the pants.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has to, he has this giant diaper under there, and they may, I don't know. But why would anyone continue to stick by this guy at this point? Now you're looking at the collapse of this false kingdom that he built, right? It's like he built it's like he blew up a bouncy house and somebody took a very small pin and stuck a thing in it, and it's slowly, but now finally collapsing and losing all of the air. So you have nothing. If you're a MAGA person, you have nothing to look at right now and be excited, brag about them, show off something that he's accomplished that no one has ever done except be the worst at everything. He's so unpopular that he beat his own historically low approval rating from last time. He's such a loser that he can beat himself at losing.
Yeah.
That's how much of a loser he is, because his approval rating is even lower than his first 100 days from last term. So
did
what
you
are
read
you
the
excited?
yeah, did you see
What?
the Atlantic article, or have you seen any of the stuff on that? So Jeffrey Goldberg and a couple other writers from the Atlantic, had this interview with him.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, so there's some standout quotes from it, by everybody's measure. The one big one, of course, is he says, "I run the country and the world."
Bullshit.
He goes, I'm having a lot of fun considering what I do. What I do is such serious stuff. So he's having fun with this seriously. Yeah. So, but I run the country and the world. Okay. Clearly, that is not the case. He is at the impact of it just like everybody else, every other human on this planet. And that's partly what he's finding out in terms of his failure around the tariffs and his dialing them back and all this kind of... And again, we are in a situation where once the stockpiling that occurred in the run-up to the tariffs runs out, which is in the next couple of months, the drop-off in, the empty shelves are going to be a real thing, unless he could turn it around magically. There's no reason to believe he would or could.
No,
there just isn't, right?
He's the stupidest people around him, because they don't know how to seize on a political opportunity to make him look good. They don't. He could have been a hero with COVID and saved millions of lives. And instead, they pretended it was a fake thing, and they let a lot of people die, and they blamed Dr. Fauci and all of that. You're so stupid that you don't see that you could save the lives of millions of registered voters. Lenny. You could save them, like in Ghostbusters. Right. But no, nobody saw that. And again, here is your opportunity to say, oh my gosh, we thought that this was going to work, but it turns out that if we do this instead, it's going to help you, and I'm going to look like a fucking hero. Let me do that. You don't want to say, they're not interested in saving lives, because as my podcast partner, Tara Devlin, says, they hate America. They hate America, and that is at the root of all of this. If you're deporting toddlers, you have no basic sense of humanity whatsoever, and if you're justifying it, you're even worse, right? So I don't know where the low is, and I don't know where the cult finds the red line. But then again, this is the same group of people who voted for a convicted felon, adjudicated rapist, best friend of Jeffrey Epstein, who stole our top secret documents to sell to our enemies. So if you're asking for a red line from this cult, I'm not sure you're going to get one. I would say that it is now the time to ask Republicans, why would you be okay with this? Find a thing. It doesn't have to be from, you don't want to believe he's a rapist. You don't want to believe he's a convicted felon. You don't want to believe he's a pedophile. That's on you. Look at how he's representing you on the global stage right now. That's embarrassing.
Right. Oh, believe me.
The deporting of toddlers with cancer. What's lower than that? I don't, unless Donald Trump physically picked up a toddler with cancer and snapped its neck live on camera. I'm not really sure how much lower it gets, but it's infuriating and sets my skin on fire.
Right. I gotta say, he would have to eat that baby live while it was crying to make these people move.
That's what Stephen Miller does.
I got news for you. They don't care. If they don't care about his friendship with Epstein for a quarter century, they don't give a shit about this stuff. They either can dilute themselves into calling it fake news, even though they know it's real, because they think that's a defense. If they say it's fake news, if you believe it or you back down in the face of it, they think they've won, even if they know what they're saying is a lie. That's one of the most fascinating things about maggots to me, is they'll call fake news on stuff they know is real, but they'll take it as a victory if you just wilt at that.
And you know me, Hal. I certainly don't wilt. So when someone doesn't believe something that I say, and I show them a screenshot from a reputable news source like, Mother Jones, they're like, oh, that's liberal trash. Okay, here's the same exact story from a Fox News affiliate. Do you believe it now? I mean, the truth is the truth, regardless of where it is coming from. Like, if it is a true thing that happened. And now you have Tom Homan on TV going, well, no, we didn't do that. Yes, you fucking did.
That was a mistake. That was an oversight.
You fucking did that.
Yeah.
You have to ask them, when do you stop lying? We only need 4 Republicans in the Senate to like not pass shit that's going to kill people, you know? Like, I don't know if you saw, but Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker sat on the Capitol steps yesterday for hours because it was Cory Booker's birthday, and they just sat there and they did this like, I forget what it's called. It's called something, and I can't remember the word, but they sat there and then people showed up and then started talking to them about the issues that matter to them. And they need to do that more often, right on camera in the public space, because the more we say the things that are true about what this administration is doing, the less people can ignore it. Like J.B. Pritzker standing up and being like, get in the fucking streets, get it out there, obstruct, move, mobilize now. We have a governor of a major Democratic state doing that. I want to know what he means by that. I want like specific guidelines for that, but I'm in. We're marching again on Thursday, but we need Republicans to decide now. Are you an American or are you a Trumpublican, or whatever you want to call it? You either love Trump or you love America. It cannot be both anymore. Or if it ever was, you cannot claim to love this country and support what this regime is doing, and did you see the thing, like he posted that if anybody criticizes him or calls for his impeachment or removal, it's imperial high treason. He used the phrase imperial high treason.
Well, and
you're not
you know
fucking
what,
king, nothing about you is imperial except maybe the margarine you use. Like no like this language is ridiculous, and this where he's pushed us. This where words don't matter and facts don't matter and nothing matters because he's, I don't know. I don't even know like why you would even listen to him anymore when he has promised you everything and delivered you nothing.
Okay, as far as I'm just saying, okay, as far as Snopes is concerned, the imperial high treason thing is false. He never said that.
It is.
Yes, it is. It's a fake Fox Chiron that's floating around. But the reason, by the way, the word imperial stuck out to me and why I needed to look that up when you said it was because he was pushed back on both the Atlantic interview and then one other recently that he did about his Greenland, Canada bullshit, which is again all about the technocracy thing that Elon Musk's maternal grandfather was for. That's where he got the idea in his doughy fucking head. They've talked to him about this. Why he says this is important for our national security, but it's also important for world security, which is so fucking odd. If for all those people who are like, we don't need to be the police of the world, suddenly all of them are like, it is important for world security. It's the stupidest thing. But it all comes out. It all comes out of that technocracy idea. Somebody brought up the fact that to do that is technically the reinstitution of American empire. Now, America was never, in the traditional sense, the way the British, the French, or the Spanish were, an empire. All of our stuff has always been relationships, and even in the case of like the most extreme shit where we wanted regime change and stuff, we didn't fly our own dude down there and put him in charge like the British did in India. Like, none of it went like that, okay? And I would argue the closest thing we have to an imperial problem in the United States is statehood for Puerto Rico. And even still, it's debatable depending on who's president whether that vote would go through in Puerto Rico or not. I think under Biden, it tends to go way up. Under Trump, it goes way down. You know what I mean? They like the distance when it's somebody like George W. Bush and the war is going on. Puerto Rico during that time was less vocal about the idea of being officially recognized as a state, those kind of things. But that's the closest thing I would say we have arguably to an imperialistic situation. And Guam doesn't count. It's, it'd be basically unpopulated if it wasn't for our bases there. The people would have moved on and gone someplace else. That's, because of the weather and all kinds of shit. But somebody brought up to him, okay, the expansion into Greenland, taking over the Panama Canal and saying it's American territory and making Canada the 51st state, that's imperialism. That's the U.S. as empire. And Trump was like, I don't think that's what that is. And you're like, that's exactly what that is, you dumb motherfucker. Mean. Right. He doesn't, right. That's he doesn't his concept of what empire or imperialism or any of those things, like, I don't even think he knows. I think those are just raw words to him. He has never contemplated, even if he's done things that would be considered imperialism, would be considered empirical. He doesn't know that that's the word for it. Maybe.
Who fucking knows? He's so, his
dumb.
Brain is rancid oatmeal.
Right.
There's nothing he says has value. He just repeats the last thing someone whispered in his ear. Like it does. That's why everything he says is. Many people recommend. He came highly recommended from many people, or many people are saying this, because he makes up bullshit. And when any sentence that he starts with, when he says, maybe I should do such and such, maybe I should do this, maybe I should just, because he doesn't know what the fuck to do.
Right.
He doesn't know how to lead. He never did. And so, what we're facing right now is like every single thing he's done is incredibly unpopular. Like, even with people in his own party. And so you have to wonder, where do we go from here? Like, where does the Republican, when you get like the Nancy Mace thing, I continue to use her as an example, because she's a perfect example of being a Trumpocrat, is because they're always doing something hypocritical, right? And so she's out there, just talking. She's a mom, and she's talking about, being protective of women and being, a rape survivor and all of that. And Donald Trump is a rapist, and she will not answer questions about that. And then I tried a different tactic. It's like, well, these are children, and you're a mother. Why are you okay with children being treated like? There's no answer, and there's no accountability.
No, there won't be. There won't be, because
that's what
about
frustrates me.
Well, it's not even hypocrisy at this point. Again, it is about their own ego. It's about their ego making a choice between their self-image and their morals. And they will always, if you're a follower of or a supporter of Donald Trump, you will always choose your self-image over facts or morals or your presumed or I guess projected ethics or morals. What you say you're about in the world, what you say you care about, being pro-life or any of this shit. Again, a 3-year-old with cancer being deported, who has every right to be in this country and have access to the medical supplies and the support structure that's here, versus Honduras or someplace like that, is the idea that you would call yourself, pro-life in that circumstance is stupid, right? It's just absurd.
Disgusting.
So when it comes to Nancy Mace, though, and this is the tie-up with hers, that, and again, I'm taking at face value because I will believe women when they make an accusation fully about sexual assault, to the extent that they can, that the person who they make the accusation against can push back in court, say all these things. So far, that has not happened. The dudes she called out who sexually assaulted her and shared pictures of them sexually assaulting her with everybody else, in her, that from her boyfriend or her husband at the time or whoever that was, and his 2 buddies and all that shit. Like, that is such a mucked up, fucked up, dark, crazy thing that I have a tendency in these instances to be forgiving of trauma survivors in that situation. They don't have to make sense to me. In the same way that you can be forgiving of the drug abuse and the bad lifestyle choices of somebody who was a child sex trafficking victim of Epstein's or Andrews, like Virginia Giuffre. Like you can understand their of course their choices don't make sense to me. I didn't go through what they went through. And so it'll fry your brain a little bit unless you get help or you have around you a substructure that says, okay, you're stepping over the line. We love you. This is not going to help your situation, or this people are not going to hear you when you say it this way, those kind of things. And in the case of Nancy Mace, I don't see anybody around her doing that. And her support of Trump, being an adjudicated rapist after being an alleged survivor herself, again, alleged because it hasn't seen its day in court, but I will give deference to, let's just assume it's true, is in line with what we've seen other survivors go through, because there is no direct kind of I've been raped, therefore I, am strong in my pushback. Like, women who have been through that kind of stuff, especially when it was familial or spousal rape or related to spousal rape, like it was allegedly in her situation, like your loyalty circuit gets fried, and hers was already fucked to begin with. So her blind spots make sense to me. At the same, it doesn't excuse what she's talking about. I can attack those things, but that is where I always, when it comes to Nancy Mace, and it also breaks down that whole thing of like where she's so against like animal cruelty. She brought this whole thing about like no animal testing. Cool, and she's for like she'd be like if in that issue she'd be a Democrat if it wasn't for all this other shit, right? Like I don't care. Most of us shrug off those kind of things and like that doesn't make you a Republican win. You just sound like us. So. Yeah. Like if it's popular, it's because you're taking the Democratic point of view in that situation. But that's my issue with Nancy Mace as the target of these things. When you've got, MTG or Lauren Boebert or any of the other kind of women who are absolutely, I mean, Boebert's kind of affliction, her Trump derangement syndrome, which I think you have to be deranged to like him, has more to do with like. I don't know, maybe daddy issues or some other bullshit.
Oh, 100%. 100% daddy issues with her, for sure. And Marjorie, too, probably. So.
Yeah. And it's more proactive than reactive, the way I think hers is. That said, we got to talk about Hegseth. Oh, my God. Okay. So the last...
It's unreal.
Amazing.
The incompetence at its core. Just, you are not fit for this job, period. Like, It's just, wow. So, and his personal track record is also so bad. I mean, married 3 times, physically assaulted his wives, alcoholic, Fox News, and all of it is a perfect storm of why would you be anywhere near our national security, and has continued to prove that he has no sense of how to comport himself or, I don't know, protect our national security. And we found out like his signal isn't on a secure server.
Nope.
And he
had a commercial line run into the office. I'm going to show you something real quick.
But Hillary's emails, right? Like, what the fuck? Show me.
Right.
Show me. It's just like, it's again, peel all the skin off of your face because of the fucking hypocrisy.
Oh my God. Okay. So, give me excuse me. I'm allergic to even having to look at people who are trying to run interference for fucking Hegseth. But this is Howard Kurtz, who does all this sort of like media shit on Fox News, has been, amongst the other people running interference. This lady right here, let's see, Megan Hayes, who was in the Biden administration. She's talking. She just talks sense when she's on there. She's very smart, pretty good at this, but she's not bullish about it the way you and I would if we were there. But she still does a great job, pretty concisely. And it's media buzz, so she's playing. She's playing towards that independent, and it's working. I would like to say for the record, the Democrats who are like not appealing to the super base, but are talking to this in these broader senses, and everybody's like, "Fuck them," they're trying to side up with. No. They are peeling off independents. The polling shows this, 72%. Like Trump has fucked his entire appeal to these folks. Now, I want you to listen to this dude right here. This is Reason Magazine's Robbie Suave Rico. Listen to his excuse for
analyze the coverage. Robbie Suave, senior editor at Reason Magazine. And Megan Hayes, a former top aide in the Biden campaign and White House. Robbie, Pete Hegseth certainly didn't help himself. The New York Times quoting 4 people familiar with the chat as saying that he did share this with family members. I have no independent reporting on this, but...
Notice how he shares that with the camera so that in case Trump is throwing ketchup at the screen.
It does seem that the press is absolutely out to get him.
That right there.
That the press is out to get Pete Hegseth or Donald Trump?
No, out to get Pete Hegseth. And listen to the follow-up. That part of it, like after this, like, obvious, like, I don't have any independent reporting on this, but they're saying he had a fucking 2 signal chats and he's sharing classified shit and they're running all this stuff, but it seems like the press is out to get him. Like, wait a minute. In any other administration, the first scandal, the dude had been fucking booted in an afternoon, and it wouldn't because the press gave a shit. It's because the administration went, wait a minute, you can't endanger our soldiers' lives. Fuck you, get out of here, right? So listen to this.
Absolutely out to get him. They have been from the start drumming up all sorts of the personal controversies he's had during his confirmation hearing. But what I find so interesting is this leak system that's apparently taking place. But of course, we know for the initial signal chat, the responsible party, it's Jeffrey Goldberg at The Atlantic, was in it because of Mike Walls. We know that's why it happened.
He was inadvertently invited, and that wasn't Pete Hegseth's fault at all.
Yeah, but that guy, there's been no accountability for that guy. So I found it so weird that the press focuses on Hegseth when we know the identity of the person who led to the initial controversy. I think that, to your point, shows how the media just wants to claim Hegseth as a scalp because maybe he's a former.
Okay, so you get the point. All right, this is his whole thing.
Yes.
They just they just want to fucking scalp. That's it. Okay, first of all, then don't hand him scalps by being a fucking idiot. But secondly, no, Mike Waltz. I don't know why there isn't more of a pushback on this everywhere, but Mike Waltz letting him into the chat is not as big a deal if they're discussing policy. It's embarrassing that they were discussing policy, and maybe it would be helpful to enemies and allies who are on the fence to know that there are deliberations going on. But normal political deliberations, most of these people are so fucking, they wear everything on their sleeve anyways. So it's not a mystery that J.D. Vance hates fucking Europe for some reason. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, none of that was none of it was a crime until Hegseth posted attack plans. None of it.
Correct. And also, this signal chat never should have existed in the first place.
Right.
Is also what they're not saying. They're not saying that, and they should be saying that. So while they're trying to figure out who's the proper scapegoat for it and who you shouldn't blame, the fact that it was created at all.
Jesus.
And then he fucking did it again with his wife and his brother in there. So he should absolutely be held responsible, as should Mike Waltz, as should every other person who was in that signal chat that never should have existed.
Nope.
It threatened
and again,
our national security.
The other thing was the guy brings up, like, they like drummed up all these these personal issues. Like, okay, first of all, the personal issues are directly germane to the circumstance because he's the SecDef, and if there's shit in your background that you could be blackmailed about, you'd want to purge that anyways. You would want to bring it up if you were Trump and go, he cheated on his wife, he's got a baby with this bitch, he was a blah-blah-blah, he's drunk all the fucking time, he's cleaned up his act, so don't bring it up because you're never going to get leverage on him because we don't care. Like, you would do that if you were Trump.
He hasn't cleaned up his act, though. He has all of those Christian nationalist tattoos.
Again, I think that's, the important thing, though, is that they can say he's cleaned up his act. And if the idea is that Trump won't fire him or do anything, to over the shame of those things, you would want them out anyways. You would want those embarrassing things out so that they can't be leveraged against him by an enemy or something like that. But this shit, the signal stuff, the running a fucking cable into his office from an unsecure line and all that kind of shit, has nothing to do with the personal scandal stuff, which would have made him, a target for blackmail. It's him fucking up right now.
Exactly.
And he's not learning from it.
Endangering the country.
Right. So, okay, a couple things. Trump says, Hegseth in this Atlantic interview says Hegseth is gonna get it together.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Yeah. No.
He's absolutely not. No, he's not. And the alpha males are not alpha mailing. You want a makeup studio in the Pentagon. That's not what our taxpayer dollars are supposed to be used for.
Yeah.
You're never going to get it together because you never had the qualifications to have this gig in the first place. If you want to sit on Fox News and talk about shit, then fine. But I had a talk with him, a positive talk, but I had a talk with him. And his talk with him was probably like, you need to quit fucking up and embarrassing me, you piece of shit, or you're out.
Yeah.
You're the coffee boy. And Hegseth, who can't even shave his sideburns to match because he's in a blackout at all times, is like, whatever you say, boss. He's like, in the Bugs Bunny cartoon, it's like, all right, Clancy, take the boys and surround the house. What should I do, boss? He's like one of those dumb criminals. He's like the criminal behind the criminal.
Yeah.
He's so stupid. They're all so fucking stupid. And that's why it makes me even angrier.
I'm happy they're
stupid mistakes.
I'm happy they're
but
stupid
they make
because
mistakes and people die.
Yeah,
People
that
die
part's
when
dangerous. I agree.
People make mistakes.
But if they were
Planes
smarter,
keep falling out of the sky. So.
if they were smarter, more people would die because they would be effective at the awful they're trying to do. So it's a lesser of two evils situation. Now, again, and none of it's positive. I'm being facetious, of course, but he goes, I think he's going to get it together. I had a talk with him, a positive talk, but I had a talk with him. Okay, if he's saying he had a talk with him, no. If he's saying he had a talk with him, he yelled at him, and Hegseth fucking tucked his head between his legs and up his ass, and was kowtowed by it, and said, "Go back to saying warrior ethos shit all the time." That's
bullshit. Wait. There's one other. Wait, can you bring that back? Because I just want to. He denies the Pentagon story and says they made furniture modifications. Furniture modifications so that there is a mirror and lights and makeup for you to powder your nose before you go out after blowing Trump for the third time that day.
Right.
You want to make sure there's no cum stains on your collar before you leave the room or something.
Right. I would say you're absolutely right.
I'm salty for a Monday, huh?
I know. I understand. It's okay. So is Hegseth's faiths, I guess. But the point is, ouch. Ouch. But again, part of it is because if you're talking, you're dealing with these kind of issues at the Pentagon that are caused by your own fuck ups, you're going to have a sweaty upper lip, and you're going to need to be able to powder close by. That said, orders makeup studio installed in the Pentagon. That was the story. He ordered modifications to a room next to the Pentagon. Right. Press briefing room to retrofit it with a makeup studio. Yeah. Right.
No one else has ever felt the need to modify anything at the Pentagon prior to, Punch Drunk Pete.
Oh, they've done lots of modifications over the years. Every time they find out there's a new way.
This.
Right. What I'm saying is every time they found out there's a new way to get spied on, they change it for that reason. This is the first time they've done it, just because a Fox News host doesn't feel at home unless there's a makeup chair. And that's really what this is. He also doesn't feel at home unless he can fucking signal chat and bullshit text on his phone like he works in a fucking news office. And that's, this is not adapting yourself to the office. This is adapting the office to yourself.
The office to you. And you know what? I made a joke that the Pentagon makeup thing was just a cover for a speakeasy. And the code word to get into the speakeasy is Jeffrey Goldberg. I think that he probably stashes, bottles of whiskey all over the place. That's what the furniture modifications really are. It's like, I need a cabinet that looks like a desk, but really it's a refrigerator, so I can have ice on hand at all times.
It's a man cave with warrior ethos written over the wall, right?
For sure. And I'm sure they sit there and they play video games and they bro each other and then they pound some beers and then they go out and I don't know. They find women to imprison. I don't know what they do. It's disgusting. Everything they do makes me sick. It's so it's just everything they do is anti-American. Everything they do. And their MAGA cult is like, yay! Because they all hate America. And at the root of it is me going, why? You have enjoyed a wonderful life here in this country up until this January. You have. You have and you have too. And you don't have to love everything every president does. But up until this, and his first administration, we've talked about this before. There were guardrails. There were still some normal-ish people around him that kept him from doing things like dismantling the education department and handing the gig to a wrestling woman. Like these things that we're seeing. And we don't have that this time. This time he's enabled by a bunch of yes people from Newsmax and the Heritage Foundation.
Okay, that goes to that whole story about how Biden's mental decline and we didn't report on it and blah blah blah. Okay, first of all, let's understand something. The president themselves isn't negotiating most of the material aspects of government. They are making moral and ethical and legal decisions, all of which Biden could do, could run circles around Trump at any given point, period, without any illusion that he somehow knows details he could not or does not know the way Trump does. Trump insists that he knows things. I know more about ISIS than the generals do. That kind of shit. He does that all the fucking time. which is a sign that he doesn't know what he's talking about and that his brain is decaying. Biden, on the other hand, could also skillfully manage a group of people that he chose to do the job and entrust that job to them, which is why we had the economy we had, which is why we passed an infrastructure bill, which is why he was able to get on the phone and talk to people on a one-to-one personal basis and build on those relationships to pass an infrastructure act or the rescue package or those kind of things. Trump has none of those skills, and thank God, or he'd actually be able to shovel through his fucking weird bill, which isn't going anywhere. And as soon as they release a draft of the budget, Democrats are going to be like curb stomping every corner of it. Just get ready, because it's going to presume, because he wants this tax cut, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security cuts. It's going to come with that. And Trump said he won't sign it or whatever. Well, then why would you even propose it? Because you secretly have heard that he will. So you can, Democrats, get ready, because if Mike Johnson suggests something awful in the budget, and he will, you have to say, no matter what the president says, behind the scenes, they've agreed to this, or Mike Johnson wouldn't have put it in there. He's not going to put something in there that the president isn't going to sign. Period. End of story. Right. And the next question reporters need to ask Trump or Caroline Leavitt or Mike Johnson is, why would Mike Johnson put something in the bill if the president says he wouldn't sign something that does that? Well, because he has. Right. Because he will sign it. Because it's a lie is why. But make them lie. That's the other thing. Make them fucking lie to your face and get it on the record. Because independents are being swayed by this. That's why his poll numbers are shitty right now, is because the lies are now on the record and it's not working out.
Right. And this is a perfect time to once again discuss that we need a Democratic press secretary. We need someone going out there every single day in front of the same media that is either allowed in the press room or not, because they're still not letting the AP back into the press room, even though the AP sued and won. They're still saying that they won't let them in. So everybody who is still allowed into the press room and those who are not, there should still be a Democratic press briefing every single day, especially when Caroline is holding them and lying. Immediately after that, wherever they can do it, whether they do it on the steps at the Capitol or they do it outside the press room, if they're not if they're not allowed any entrance into the White House, they find a spot and they invite all of the media, and they do it every day. And there will come a point where the media will not be able to ignore that, because it's going to keep happening every day, same time. And it's Pete Buttigieg, or it's Jessica Tarlov, or it's somebody with a strong presence that is respected by both sides. Because Pete Buttigieg is going out there. He was on that Bro podcast for 3 hours, speaking truth to power about, hey, you know what? Democrats want you to have a successful life, just like we want that for our people. We don't want you to die. We want you to get up every day and go to work and feed your family and take care of things. And this administration doesn't. So And for me, like, again, and we've talked about this so many times. I just want people to know what's true. You can make your own decisions once it is delivered to you. And I miss those days where Dan Rather or Peter Jennings or Diane Sawyer was on the news and they would say, here's what happened today.
That's what actually happened.
Didn't tell you what to think. They didn't tell you how to feel. They didn't offer their own opinion about how it made them feel. They were like, here's the story. Here's another story. Here's a story. And that's the end of the news today. And you got to decide how you felt about it. And I miss that so much, because it's not the media's job to tell us how to feel about anything. It's their job to say, tuned in. These are the events. But I mean, the way the media has changed during, concurrently with the rise of the internet and social media, and we're never going back to the days of Edward R. Murrow. We're never going back to, every time I sit here, by the way, with the headphones on and the microphone like this, I kind of feel like Walter Winchell, especially when I was wearing that jacket for the pre-show. I was like, good evening, Mr. America, and all the ships at sea.
Ships at sea, yeah.
Because there was a time when the voice of America was something you could trust. And I'd love to get that back, but Carrie Lake is in charge of the Voice of America now, and that's troubling.
Well, they tried to shut it down, and a judge wouldn't let them.
That's right. And then we're seeing what happened with 60 Minutes. The producer for 60 Minutes for 30 years, Bill Owens, just quit because Shari Redstone, who is in charge of Paramount, was like, we're not gonna let you do stories about Trump that are true. Shari Redstone is a fucking traitor to the United States and a really, really rich one. So she gets to decide what the news is and what's true and what gets to be put on 60 Minutes. Fuck that. So I immediately canceled my subscription to Paramount Plus, and I encourage you, if you have a subscription to Paramount Plus, cancel it. Because these are small ways to protest. But we are here, and the reason I feel so lucky to have this, aside from the fact that it's like every time I go on one of these, it's like I have a personal therapy session and I get to do a brain dump. So we are here delivering actual truth. And while we were doing the Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner over the weekend, Substack also hosted a new media event that I'm seeing a lot of our influencer friends went to, because it was in DC as another event for people to go to instead of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was really, it was attended by a lot of people that we know and trust, like Jim Acosta and Michael Cohen, all of these other people, and Glenn Kirshner. They're all there.
The new White House Correspondents'
Dinner.
Really
showing. Yeah, and I think that's what we do next year. John wants to book like the DC Improv, and we get all of those people who were there, who did the Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and we are creating new media right now. We are the new independent media that everybody, right? It is making people aware that we're here and getting the word out at a time when our voices are being suppressed on traditional social media apps. And I'm seeing it on Facebook. I'm seeing it, on Twitter. I'm seeing, but
here's
not
what
so
I
much
would say
Blue
too.
Sky.
I don't think we have to wait that long.
And Instagram.
I don't think we have to wait that long
either. We have to get that on the road.
Well, no, I'm literally saying like we could do one of these, end of the summer or something, beginning of the school year, as all these like tariff issues are starting to really hit the fan and stuff in DC. Throw a gala of our own at one of these things.
I love that.
Yeah, and give away our own fucking awards at this point of like people who speak truth to power. Like, why the fuck not?
I love
and do
that.
it
Like
do
our
it
own
opposite.
Webbies.
Absolutely, do it opposite the we'll give away a Trump derangement syndrome award. Which looks like the stupid gold statue of Trump. Whatever, but with the shit emoji for a head. I'll 3D print it myself.
I love that.
But the point is like if we do it then, if they come back next year and decide to like maybe bring comedy back, even if it's tepid, or Jay Leno hosts again, God bless him, or something like that, it's fine. He's fine.
Bill Maher. They're gonna have Bill Maher host it next year.
Right. But if we do it opposite part of the year, if they're doing it now along with like award, season, which I think is dumb. Do it right as school year started, because people are prepping for what their year's going to be like and experience it, especially people with kids and the like. And kids who are going off to college and people who are changing jobs and who've settled in or moved, all those kind of things. We'll just do it then. So we should set this up for September someplace and do it in DC. And there's a myriad of places, but I think we should just rent out the Hilton, as an event space. And it's going to be, I'll tell you, a little down low, because of the tariff stuff, it's going to be fucking cheap.
Yeah. Oh, and we can call the awards the Libbies.
I love that.
Liberals.
Yeah, liberal awards. Absolutely.
Do you like it? Do you like the Libbies? We'll go to
I
the
like
Libbies.
the Libbies.
Like the Webbies, but for the liberals. Okay, let's get a little trademark on that, the Libbies.
But we'll call it like the Liberty Award as opposed to liberal in that order. We'll allow it to be liberal. We'll make them do it. Make them go, these are the Liberty Awards.
Liberty Awards, a.k.a. the Libbies. And here's how you own one.
Yes.
Owning the Libbies.
And we all get
we get a really good sponsor.
Yeah, you, me,
and
John, and Frangela and
Stephanie.
All get one.
And then we invite everybody.
Just for starting it.
I love it. I love this idea.
And it should look almost exactly like a Nobel Prize.
It
should look physically.
I love that.
It should just different print on it. But it'll just be like
Yes, and we'll also invite.
I think it's a good idea.
The aisle and see if they show up, right? Because it'll be this. Yeah, no, I love this. We have to pitch this to Ron immediately. We have to book a place immediately and start putting it all together, because that's how we're gonna end. And
Four Seasons Total Landscaping. We could book their. We could set up tents in the back, like just use their parking lot. And do it live from Four Seasons Total Landscaping, but like leave the back of the building like visible as the backdrop for the stage. Or like even if we do it at the Hilton, the backdrop should be a picture of a giant printout or a screen that shows the garage door of Four Seasons Total Landscaping with their sign.
I love
like
that.
We're there.
That would be great. That, or if we could have like rotating backgrounds. We could have the Four Seasons total landscaping. We could have Mar-a-Lago, so it looks like we're in some anteroom from Mar-a-Lago, and everything is like gold and tacky. Did you see the shit that he's put up in the Oval Office, by the way?
Oh yeah,
he
everything's
sent
gold,
somebody out to Michael's. He sent somebody out to Michael's, and he said,
Hobby Lobby. No, Hobby Lobby.
Because you're right. You're right. It's Hobby Lobby. My bad.
The Chick-fil-A version of Michael's, right?
It is true. Right. So he sent somebody out to Hobby Lobby and said, get yourself some gold spray paint and some things, because there's not enough ostentatious bullshit on the walls in this office. So, and I also think somebody heard the criticism from the last time when he never had photos of his family on the credenza behind the Resolute desk, and now there are pictures of his family on the credenza. But it's just like, it's all fake. So I think that would be glory. We absolutely, and then, you know, like, just every place that they hang out, we should put that backdrop behind them, behind us. Like maybe there's a truck pull. I don't know. Maybe that's behind us. Maybe NASCAR.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know,
but you know, and we serve Mountain Dew shots. I don't know.
So,
but
you should get. I personally think you should have like an award. This is so stupid, but I love it. You should have an award that's given to you should be the first recipient. I'm nominating you immediately for the first best pushback online, like who really takes it to them, like as far as not being afraid. And all it is like gold truck nuts. I
love that.
Like you've taken the balls.
True. Or some sort of VIP award just for all of the MAGA blocks I've accumulated over the decade. Starting with my blocked by Trump quadfecta, which is a very rare thing to have. I think there's only like 2 or 3 of us on Twitter who have that, where I was blocked by Trump, Ivanka, Eric, and Don Jr. So I have that quadfecta. Now, if you can achieve that, I think you've got something. But then I have some other high-profile MAGA blocks that the people say I should make into wallpaper, or I should print it and make it a garment I can wear. But do something. Make a coffee table book from it. I don't know, but I have hundreds of them. And some of them are more interesting than others, like Elon's mom, Cheryl Hines. Like
I just have to say, I'm already looking up
how
to rent the Hilton. That's the Washington Hilton right there. That's the big one. We could start in the medium.
That's where they have the real.
That's where the real one is.
That's where they have the real White House person. I wonder how much the rental fee is on that room.
We'll find out.
Because I used to work in hospitality and special events. Like if you know the Chelsea Piers in New York City, I worked in the special events department there. But then I also was a restaurant host for a really long time. After I lost my radio gig. And so there's a lot that I know about setting up banquets and special events and how to put together a menu and all of that fun stuff. So I could, help out behind the scenes. But I think the more we can get physically in front of people, the better, particularly in DC. So like, if we're going to do that, what I would also do, I would invite every member of Congress. And I would make sure that we get, if we can't get them to physically show up, like we make appointments to go meet them and do interviews with them. And we go, really try to seize the moment to the best of our ability to get coverage. Like do whatever it takes to get more people aware that we're doing it. Aside from having a live stream of the event, which we would of course do, letting people know that it was happening ahead of time.
Right.
To gather the people. And it's kind of, I guess, what J.B. Pritzker was talking about, like you want to be motivated to do something and push back. This is one of the ways to do it, is to hold big public events. And
from what I can
it's
see,
just every act of resistance matters.
Yeah, from what you can see,
what?
Yeah, they have they have 21 different big rooms there, or whatever. But even the medium-sized one, like the biggest one, is about, and they don't charge a fee for the rental of the room. You have a food and drink minimum that you have to do to get the thing. That's how they do it. So apparently that's $8,200 according to the AI on Google. I asked the question of.
All right.
That's doable.
Is it doable? You think that's doable?
I think that's doable. I think that can be. I mean, obviously, you have to, because you're going to sell tickets.
Your investment with right.
Even if we zero it out
with ticket sales.
Yeah, I think
merch.
We can do that.
Maybe we can sell some merch for it. Yeah. Merch is where you make your money. on an event, as you know, as a touring comedian musician,
yes.
you know that merch is like very profitable.
Absolutely.
And so I think it would be where we will end up turning talent away. People will be begging to be on this show because everyone's going to be really motivated.
There's the three biggest ones. There's the presidential, congressional, Senate room, which is all three and is large. The presidential congressional, which is smaller than that, it's 1,000 square feet. 1140 banquet, 1,000 banquet, and then the presidential ballroom is 700 by itself. So they, I guess, they partition these out. So the president, and then they Senate, and then Senate Congress.
Yep.
They open the room up this way. Is my guess.
Yep.
I'm already planning this shit. I'm excited. This has to be done.
This is great.
We're gonna.
Hey, I mean,
I think this shit happen.
I think it also makes more sense than maybe trying to plan a tour. If you can do like these standalone events where we can draw a huge.
I say we
want to do
event, tour up to that date and then tour in the wake of it, baby. You know me. I'm all about
do
live.
that too. I mean, I am so down to get out there in front of the people, and I will go to red states. I'm fascinated by all of it, and from a sociological standpoint, I do want to have conversations. Yeah. I do. What did Surrender Monkey do?
Oh, it just said, sent a super chat that said, tariff my freedom of speech, you ridiculous clown president. Can I claim this on your taxes? Yes. And also, Boston Brian said earlier something about the Russian ceasefire this week of 3 days, basically so they can reload. He's absolutely right. This is all bullshit. They're going to break it anyways. They will attack during that window. I have no doubt. So
they will.
Please stream it live. Yes, we would absolutely stream this fucking thing live.
I love this. We have to have
I'm going to start designing with Rob Glenn. We're going to design and manufacture the awards right here in fucking America.
That's right.
Telling you.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And I love it. I'm game. I am 100% game to go out there. I'm not lying when I say I want to have conversations with people on the other side, and I do try to engage. When I try to engage, I get, oh, fuck you, libtard. You have TDS. No, I don't. I want to know why you think it's okay for all of America to be endangered. Can you just let's just talk? But this is a way to this is attention grabbing and a way to get people to pay attention to those of us who are invested in continuing to get the truth out there.
Right.
So let's do this. And
by the way,
making it happen. We are making it happen.
The chat is 100% behind this idea, and you saw it happen here live because that's why I'm suggesting this happen. Like in the mid-year, away from the rest of the award season, so that it stands out.
Ooh, you know when it would be good to do is like right after Labor Day, because you can. Because Labor Day is a big deal in this country, and the fact that we have Labor Day is really important.
Thank you, Co-Chair.
And the other thing that we can do, I think we should also do a show on Indigenous Peoples Day, because Donald Trump is insisting on renaming it Columbus Day again, or only I'm bringing back Columbus Day. Well, it never went away. Some people call it Indigenous Peoples Day instead. But every we should do it on all of the days that make that they wait. What is it? I bought Tara's book also. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. Here it is. The Sound of Settling, a rock and roll love story. And you know what's weird is that my sales have really dropped off since January 20th. Because I don't know why. Maybe people aren't in the mood. But if you could pretty please go to taradublinrocks.com and buy a copy of my book. It's available in paperback, on the Kindle, and now there is an AI-generated Audible version that you can listen to if that's your preference. There will come a day when I sell this book for proper and real, and they give me actual money, and then I will rent a studio and hire a producer and spend a month reading the book myself, or hiring an actor to do it, not AI. Tara's birthday should really be a national holiday. Thank you. April 26th. April 26th should be a national holiday. I believe so. But I will say I was celebrated well on Saturday.
Thank you, Dawn.
I got a manicure. I got a manicure and a pedicure. My son and his girlfriend took me out to lunch. Then I had a karaoke party with my friends. And if you're signed up for my Substack, which I hope that you are at taradublin.substack.com, I shared a video of myself singing, which is not something that I do that often. I don't share the videos of me singing because here's the thing. I'm not the world's greatest singer, and I would never claim to be a great singer. But it's something that I enjoy and I love, and I've connected to other people through it. And I would posit, I don't know where it came the idea that you shouldn't do anything in public unless you're the absolute best at it is stupid. Because
it's also not.
people who
It's
enjoy
how you get good, especially performance arts.
Yeah,
doing them in public is
exactly.
part of how you get there. Right.
Right.
But
I would say that just because you enjoy something doesn't mean you have to be the best at it. You can just enjoy things for the sake of enjoying them. Like if you enjoy running, that doesn't mean you're going to win a race. If if you're an actor, that doesn't mean you're going to win an Oscar. If you're a sports person, that doesn't mean you're going to get into the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to be the lead singer of a band ever, which is fine. I enjoy being in this community. I'm never going to record a hit song, but I love doing it. It makes me happy. It feels physically good. So I posted a video of me singing That's Life by Frank Sinatra, and I enjoyed myself. And I had a blast because it's a great life lesson sort of song. So check that out on my Substack. And I didn't put it on Twitter. That's right. Without the sig, because I don't.
That's how you lived it.
I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet. A pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over. I like when Sinatra does these, like, many times I thought of cutting out, but this heart just ain't gonna buy it. But if there's nothing shaking come this here July, I'm gonna roll myself up in a big ball and die. Anyway, so I want to do this show with you. I want to go on the road. I gotta say, I want to go to red states. I want to do this thing.
Yes, I have.
Bring it to the people.
Kids, I have a prop cigarette. I have a sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who. I have a
great.
I have props. I have a communicator from Star Trek, the original series. I have, thanks to our great friend Jet, I have a bullshit button. And I've got a kidney. And what else?
I don't have a lot on my desk to show off, but I have this from my younger son's Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
And then
that's adorable.
If my apartment was, God forbid, ever on fire, aside from my cats, the thing that I would save is this postcard from Stephen King that I got in 1985. Because I wrote to Stephen King in 1985 for a paper that I was doing for my junior honors English class. Thank you. And back in those days, kids, if you wanted to know something about somebody, there was no internets. And so I wrote to Stephen King via his publisher, and he wrote back, like, I got one of those packets. It was like information, like just like mimeographed information, but he had typed at the bottom, like, good luck, hope you get an A. And then the next day I got this postcard because I had asked about the Dark Tower because it was out of print at the time. And he was like, well, you can go to this guy in Rhode Island, but don't pay more than $50 for it. And now he follows me back on Twitter, which is cool. I really would love to get him a copy of The Sound of Settling. But for now, I have to be satisfied with the other people who have it. And I know we're over. But if everyone would go to Tara Dublin Rocks and buy a copy. Because
please check out her book,
Serenade.
Sounds of Settling.
Serenade.
Yes, that's right. Ladies and gentlemen, don't be...
I've got a hunger. You know what I learned? Do you know the song The Sound of Settling by Death Cab for Cutie? Do you know the song?
No, I do not.
Okay, so Death Cab for Cutie is a band that I love, and The Sound of Settling is my favorite song by them, but it sounds almost exactly, if you slow it down, it sounds almost exactly like Dancing in the Dark by Bruce Springsteen, because it goes, I've got a hunger, twisting my stomach into knots, and it sounds like, message keep getting clearer. Anyway, check out The Sound of Settling. And again, one day you and I are going to do a whole podcast just about music, where we just talk about music because I love music so much.
Yeah.
And somebody today actually emailed me, a guy that remembered me from being on the radio here, and he's writing a book about the Portland music scene and wants me to collaborate in a way, or like wants to quote me because I was on the radio here for 5 years and helped launch a lot of really great local bands that people know now, but back in 20 years ago, no one had heard of, no one outside of Portland really knew Modest Mouse and the Shins and Spoon and the Decemberists. And so we did all of that stuff. And, it's just, that's what, look, if I could, I would only talk about music all day. But right now,
and at
we're
the end
a little bit saving our democracy.
at the end of this insanity, the nice thing is you and I and a bunch of other people actually have shit to go back to. That gives our lives value and gives value to other people. And I pity the newsmakers out there who are somehow, lamenting the day when Trump will no longer be on the scene for the fear clicks that it gives them. And I'm so glad that when all this is over, I'm still going to be entertaining.
Yes, we always were. You always were.
Yeah.
And so what's great about this is not only will we get to go back to the things that make us happy, but people will remember that we were here through this horrifically dark time, and they'll be grateful that we stuck through it, right? And so that's what's going to make us tighter as a democratic community and as a country. And it's kind of like a shared experience. Like if you went through a war together, like you survived in the trenches together. We're literally in trenches together right now. And so as we look at the week ahead, remember, every act of resistance matters, regardless of how big or small. If you're someone who's comfortable, we are marching in the streets again on Thursday, which is May Day. So get out there. It'll be my third hands-off protest march. But if that's not your thing, there's the 5 Calls app. And you can call, you can make 5 calls to members of Congress about the things that are bothering you. And of course, sharing our shows with people that you're friends with. Share our shows on your socials so that more people are aware that we're here delivering truth, so that they don't have to live at threat level midnight at all times. Because that's something else that we do. As much as we, lambast what's happening, we're also here to provide hope through this time and how we continue to get through it.
And
direction together. Together, stronger together, as somebody once said.
And we're well over time. I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I'll see you next time. I think we made real progress today, and you and I are gonna have to have a powwow with Ron, and I will pitch him the idea for the thing, and we will make it happen.
Do it.
And I feel like I feel like people need it, and doing it there in DC will have real value as well. So. And let them complain, let them freak out, let them, threaten and cajole and free, and I would say let them come in that regard, as far as, us being there and face this head on as people who are out in front all the time, on behalf of all the people who maybe are too afraid to, or can't, or don't have, or don't have the choice of being visibly against this the way you and I do. I feel like on their behalf, we have a responsibility to do
100%, because you can't just sit by and watch this happen.
No,
I have to take some sort of action. It's not democracy is an action word.
That's right.
Just remember that. Okay.
So
all right, you guys, be good to each other. Take care of yourselves, and come check out the Tower Show tomorrow and Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. And 11 a.m. Pacific. We have a very exciting chat room. You should come by and hang out with us.
I'm for it. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Hal.
There she goes. Yay. Off she goes. And you guys, thanks so much. There's a lot that needs to come to a head about this. But thank you guys for the support and the super chats. I'm sorry if I missed some of them today, but I wanted to remind, like the one that Boston Brian put up earlier about Putin. He's absolutely right. It's a head fake. They don't give a rat's ass. If anything, if they really believed we're fighting the Nazis in Ukraine, why would you pause fighting Nazis in Ukraine to pat yourself on the back for defeating the Nazis, by the way, which you did with help from Lend-Lease from the United States, just like Ukraine is doing against Russia. Also, the calls are coming from inside the house, you dumb sons of bitches. Anyways, so love you guys. Thank you so much. If you like the show, if you care about the show, if you enjoy the show, if you please support the show by Patreon, subscribing. Infotainment Wars on YouTube. It's at Infotainment Wars. We'll take you right to the channel. Members, now I've found a way to add YouTube members to our Patreon folks that can get to watch the show if you're there. If you do one or the other or both, it's greatly appreciated. What else? That's it. I'll see you later on this afternoon. I got shit to do, and so do you. And God knows we're gonna have plenty of fucking show. Man. This is going to be a nutty goddamn week. Which, by the way, I'm going to be in Chicago on Friday. because we're doing the Saturday show live at a WCPT event. So it'll be me and Johnny Million live there, as well as our dear friend Rob Glenn who's going to drop in. And yeah, it'll be a great time. So much love to you guys. Subscribe, like, doing all that stuff, whatever, doesn't matter. The important thing is, thank you for your eyeball time. And I'll see you later. Please subscribe. I haven't asked anybody to do that in forever.
Motherfucker!
Take off.